Not every great movie needs a sequel. I mean, there are tons of movies, specifically in the horror genre, but there are definitely other ones in the action genre. Comedy. Oh my fucking god, don't get me started on comedy sequels. I'm going to get into that first one. Anchorman, Ted, Bad Santa. Oh, I know there's more. Those two, though, their sequels were trash. Like, and we're talking about three of my favorite comedies. Okay? Bad Santa and Christmas Around the Corner. You bet your ass I'm watching that for the 500th time I've watched it in my fucking life. Anchorman, I mean, come on. It's one of the most quoted movies of all time. I mean, one of them. Ted, another favorite of mine. And the sequels did nothing. Just because they were instant successes and considered comedy classics, there's no point. There was no point. All those sequels did was rehash the same jokes, and the new jokes they tried fell flat, in my opinion. And it was like the same story. I remember watching Ted 2 in the theater, and I think halfway through the film, I'm like, it didn't ruin the first one for me. I still own the first one on DVD. And Anchorman I own on DVD. And I am going to get Bad Santa. I have to have that. In fact, hey, Black Friday weekend, so vintage stock, here I come. I don't think Die Hard needed a franchise. I do like, the original Die Hard is great. The second one, kind of pointless. The Vengeance, the one with Samuel L. Jackson. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, Die Hard with a Vengeance. I had to go to the shelf to double check. Now, let's get to horror. There's definitely a lot of horror movies that are absolute classics that did not need to be a franchise. Didn't even need a sequel. That's it. One and done. The Exorcist is at the top of that list. However, I'm a huge fan of Exorcist 3. However, I have heard, I don't know if it's true, but I have heard that originally it was meant to be another film and they just slapped on Exorcist for marketing purposes, knowing they would sell tickets. But also they added in some, Father Karen's name in there and a few other things. But yeah, Exorcist 3 is one of the greatest horror films. So that's an exception. And don't get me started on the Blumhouse reboot. It was a legacy sequel, a sequel to the original. And I can only think of somewhere between the third act, there was a moment when the girls kind of got into old dude's head, regarding his wife passing away and all that kind of stuff. That was the only part of the movie I'm like, okay, I like where this is going, and that was it. And other than that, fuck that movie. As much as I do have some love for certain sequels in the Halloween trilogy, we could have had just Halloween 1, and I think it would have been great. Now, like I said, there's some of the sequels I do enjoy. There's no sequel in the Halloween franchise that I don't. I own the majority of the franchise on Blu-ray. I have a few left. They're all watchable to me. I think the fifth one's the only one that I can get kind of bored at for the most part. I meant to say part. I say port. What the fuck is a port? Oh, wait. The Port of Catoosa. If you know, you know. Jaws is an amazing fucking film. And it does not need to be remade whatsoever. It's fine on its own. Jaws 2 was just, it was alright, but it was pointless. Jaws 3, fuck that movie. Jaws 4 is kind of hilarious at how unrealistic it is. And definitely at the end, when you hearing a shark, make an elephant sound. So there's some guilty pleasure in that, but still, pointless sequel. I can say Psycho would have been fine as a standalone, but I think Psycho 2 is one of the best sequels to come out. Cycle 3 is good. I actually saw it in its entirety about 3 months ago for the first time. And then I've seen Cycle 4 is, it's okay. I will say Terrifier definitely called for a sequel. I definitely feel that was made specifically to launch a franchise. But I will say Terrifier 2 is a much better film. And Terrifier 3 as well is very good. So I know with the fourth one, we're delving more into the lore of Art the Clown. So that's a good example of a franchise that is worthy. Because the first one obviously is just more of kind of like a concept. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like I said, obviously the original's a classic. I love the remake, and I love the fact that they didn't do shot for shot, that they actually added in characters, gave you kind of surprising moments. So to me, that's how you remake and modernize a film. But Jesus, there was a lot of those sequels crash and burned. I can't watch Leatherface. That sequel is just boring as hell. Texas Chainsaw 3D is kind of a guilty pleasure. I'm at least entertained by it, so I can kind of forgive it, even though there's some timeline issues they had. And the way it starts off is pretty dope. Now, the sequel to the remake, the beginning, is okay, but it's kind of a lot of, hey, here's how that happened. And I'm like, okay, I don't need that explained. I don't really care how he lost his legs. That feels highly irrelevant. Now, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 I like. I own that on Blu-ray. I'm working on owning the others, even the ones I don't like. I'm a collector. What can I tell you? It does kind of take on some cheesiness to it, but it's okay. And Chop Top. How do you ever say his name? Chop Top. I said it right that time, I think. Yeah. I have issues with tongue twisters sometimes. Chop Top's a classic character. Shout out to Bill Moseley. We don't need to talk about the rest of the sequels. That Netflix film pissed me off. The Next Generation, we don't need to talk about that either. I have no idea what they were trying to do there. Matthew McConaughey still killed his performance, so props to him. But the Sawyer family worked for the Illuminati. Okay. The Sally cameo at the end of the film, that was a good touch, so I'll give props where props due on that. I'm sure there's more. Trust me, I'll do another video on this. But like I said, there are so many good films that I feel either don't need to be remade, don't need a sequel. We don't need no 40 years later bullshit either. Can we just come up with new ideas?